My brief here is to speak on, we'll move a little away from implants to spinopelvic mobility considerations in total hip arthroplasty. This has gained interest in the last few years because of some factors that have been overlooked and issues relating to dislocation attributed to overlooking factors related to spinopelvic mobility. Now, once we look at normal relationship between the spine and the pelvis, we realize that from sitting to standing, the spine and the pelvis both move, and that both are interrelated because spine mobility is related to the pelvic mobility. Now, to simply state, when you look at the neutral position, a standing position, you have an anterior tilt to the pelvis, and a sitting position assumes a posterior tilt to the pelvis. Now, the sitting and standing changes from person to person, and that's why it's referred to as a patient-specific change. And that, especially when you look at the X-rays, that can translate to whether the lumbar lordosis is persistent or absent. And that is what is seen when you take these spine X-rays. Now, if you look at the change from sitting to standing, it varies from patient to patient, and that's why it's called patient-specific, and that's why inherent pelvic tilt may differ from individual to individual, and that's what is referred to as what we call the functional orientation, which is patient-specific. And that is basically built on or related to the tilt of the pelvis given to each individual patient. Now, where we started to look at this is basically with a subset of patients that we all commonly deal with, is the ankylosing spondylitis patients. Now, this is a 32-year-old male who had a fused hip and fused spine, and he underwent, in those days we had the cemented Charnley THR. He dislocated at 3 months. Now, when we tried to reduce it close, it was very, very difficult. So we had to do an open reduction, and we realized that the anteversion of the cup was a little too much. It was difficult to reduce it. We reduced it considering the situation at that time. We did an open reduction. It was stable, and we decided and told the patient that if it dislocates again, we would have to go in and do a full-fledged revision. But because of the ankylosing spondylitis tissue and because of the changes in in the bone and the soft tissues, probably he did not dislocate, and this is him at 9 years follow-up. But what we could have done was pay more attention to the anteversion, and that's why we realized that, especially in this subset of patients, it's important to evaluate what is called spine stiffness or the spinopelvic mobility. How do we do that? Now, when you look at an X-ray pelvis in the AP view, you can look at it either, we look at the inlet, which look different in two different patients. Now, in a patient with a significant flexion deformity, we refer to what is called the eyes open, because that's where the inlet appears to be an open view, and that's where probably the lordosis is exaggerated, as opposed to an eye closed view as referred to by Ranawat, where you have a loss of lumbar lordosis. Now, if you look at that particular patient, or in every patient where you refer to a spine sitting and standing X-rays that you have to take, that will give you the change in pelvic tilt from sitting to standing, which can be assessed before a total arthroplasty. Now, there are a various amount of spinopelvic parameters that can be assessed, which includes lumbar lordosis, pelvic tilt, sacral slope, and what we call the pelvic inclination. And they have a set of values, which means that change from sitting to standing in the normal cohort or in the normal set of controls. But just look, to simplify the issue, just let us look at one particular value called the sacral slope. Now, in the normal spinopelvic motion, there's a 10 to 30 degree change in the sacral slope from sitting to standing, and that is what has to be appreciated in the normal spinopelvic mobility. Now, if you look at what happens subsequently to anteversion and how does it change with pelvic tilt, you realize that the change occurs both in the inclination and the anteversion, so much so that there is a 41 degree inclination of the acetabular cup in standing with a 10 degree of anteversion, which changes to 54 degrees of inclination and 38 degrees of anteversion in the sitting position. And that's what we got to bear in mind. So, to put it simply and to put literature out there, there's a change in pelvic tilt for every 10 degree change in pelvic tilt. There's a 7 degree approximate change in version and a 3 degree approximate change in inclination. So, in a sitting position, there's what we call a functional anteversion, and in a standing position, there's what we call a functional retroversion. And that's what we all have to bear in mind. Now, if you do that and you go ahead and implant the cup in the normal position, what happens is there could be what we refer to as impingement in either the anterior or the posterior aspect. So hence we have to adjust these parameters so that especially with relation to anteversion, so that we avoid impingement and avoid eccentric wear, if not a dislocation. Now, like we said, here in a typical angst, the eyes are wide open. This is a spondyloarthropathy lady where we underwent a THR, and if you look at it, this lady underwent a bilateral THR on follow-up, but look at the typical spine change from sitting to standing even post-op. That is because the spine and the pelvis have fused as a unit, and there is no spinopelvic mobility that's available, so it's relatively unchanged even after THR, although the patient is functionally much, much better. Now, this is a situation that is common in ankylosing spondylitis. Preoperative, if the patient is able to sit, you have what is called a stuck sitting position, where the sacral slope is universally less than 30 before and after THR and from standing to sitting. So when the sacral slope is less than 30, is referred to what is called a stuck sitting position, where there's a loss of lumbar lordosis. Now, if you look at, in contrast to that, if you have a patient, this is a patient who couldn't get an appropriate situation before surgery. So we have the sacral slope after THR, standing and sitting, where the sacral slope is more than 30, and that's referred to as what is called the stuck standing position. So these are two situations where we got to be aware of what is the stuck sitting and the stuck standing, where there's an anterior pelvic tilt. Now, this situation where we see that there is a relatively little change in, or again sacral slope bordering on 30 degrees, you see that there is an anterior pelvic tilt and a persistent lumbar lordosis. Now, a typical situation is a degenerative spine which has undergone instrumentation, there's a loss of flexion, and there's a tendency to anterior impingement and posterior dislocation. And that is where we should be cautious in referring to or attributing to the Lewinick safe zones and having to implant in that situation where you could have a impingement and a dislocation. In a situation like an angst, you have a loss of extension, you have a posterior impingement and a tendency to anterior dislocation. So it's always necessary to look at the pelvis, look at the lateral views. A common situation like angst, you can have a varying amount of spinopelvic mobility. Remember that there could be a reduced spinopelvic mobility, which is basically where the spinopelvic or the sacral slope does not conform to the usual change, and what we need to do is a spine sitting and standing lateral views before surgery. And in fact, when there's a persistent lumbar lordosis referred to as stuck standing, the recommendation is to minimally or put it on the extreme border of anteversion so as to prevent impingement and dislocation. And in the angst situation where you have a rigid spine in the stuck sitting, you have a recommendation to have a minimal anteversion, so you reduce that risk of posterior impingement and an anterior dislocation. The typical scenario in an angst where you see it even 5 years post bilateral THA, the sacral slope is relatively unchanged, a stuck sitting position. Now, the recommendation has gone on to say that there is a dual mobility that is safest bet for all these situations so that you reduce the risk of dislocation. A few more slides, please. And so in a nutshell, you have to increase the anteversion where there is a persistent lumbar lordosis up to 20 to 25% within the normal limits, and a minimal decrease in anteversion where there is a stuck sitting position. We put out this in our paper on spinopelvic mobility, especially in ankylosing spondylitis, and we have studied this, saying that majority on the stuck sit position. So it would be very, very important to pay attention to the acetabular anteversion, especially when we're doing a total lip in these situations. So spinopelvic mobility assessment is important, especially in these fused spines. Cup position adjustment has to be done with care using routine landmarks and technique if technology is not available. Thank you for your attention.